Today on
Doomed!
Dare to Keep Kids Off Social Media. Facebook and Instagram toxic for your teens. And this may not seem like a big revelation to any of you who've been following basically everything going on in the online and social media space over the years. But this time, it comes from Facebook itself. That's right, leaked documents from Facebook show just how much the company knew about the harm it did to young people and continues to do to young people on its platform. Folks, hello everybody. How are you doing today? I'm pulling myself up on the screen for the live stream viewers. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and a lot to talk about today. This is a Matt Binder solo show. That's right. That's because I covered this issue, so I can speak to it. In terms of what's going on, I of course have previously had social media experts on to discuss this issue, and I will have more. I'll have more to talk about this in the future, but I thought this one was a good episode to pretty much get everyone in tune to what's going on, because this is going to be a major topic going forward. And there was a congressional hearing today for this very issue, and quite frankly, probably one of the more productive congressional hearings on the internet in general that there's ever been. Facebook did not send Mark Zuckerberg. They sent their global head of safety. And we're going to dive right into all of that in just a moment. But before we do that, I'm going to use this opportunity to plug how you can support this show. Also, we'll be talking about, by the way, my debate with Michael Tracy. If you're unaware, I debated Michael Tracy last Friday at the last minute due to a segment that I did with the Majority Report crew last Thursday. Tracy contacted me the next day, wanted to talk about it. This was the discussion of his recent reporting at college campuses over university COVID policies. So we did that last Friday. I was on the Majority Report today as well, and we discussed my debate with Tracy, but we'll get more into it later on in the program. Also, what else? I'm sure there's some other things that'll come up as we go along. But to support this show, patreon.com/Matt Binder. To support the show, if you could sign up and become a paid subscriber on a monthly basis, I would greatly appreciate it. We are about to hit 300 patrons. Again, that might not sound like a lot if you're a subscriber to bigger shows, or maybe it does sound like a lot if you're a young upstart Patreon creator who's just got a handful of patrons. But either way, to me, 300's a big deal. So patreon.com/Matt Binder to support this show. I'm still demonetized on YouTube, so you can't drop any super chats as a thank you. So the best way you can thank me right now is go to patreon.com/Matt Binder. Also, tomorrow is if you're on the live stream tomorrow, if you're watching listening to the podcast, we've already passed this, but you can help now too. This show is being is live on September 30th, and if you're listening to it, it's been taped on September 30th. October 1st, first of the month, Patreon charges people, which means inevitably there's going to be some declines and we're going to lose some patrons. If you could help ease that blow, I greatly appreciate it. So without any further ado, though, let me thank those new patrons right off the bat. People who've joined since the last episode of the show. They are Matthew from, this is a very specific handle. I don't know if you want me to give away where you live, but it's part of your username. So I'll just say Matthew from Indy. Then Tyler C., Darcy R., Zakeel O'Neill. I love that name, by the way. I'm guessing your name is Zach. David L., Scott G., Josiah M., Hamish B, Justin R, Jay and John, Tyler P, Paul B, and DH. Thank you all so much for subscribing and becoming patrons. It is greatly appreciated. YouTube.com/MattBinder to subscribe to this channel. Also, Twitch.tv/MattBinder. Follow me on Twitter. Ironically, Instagram, based on this episode, @MattBinder. Doomedcast.com for the podcast version of this show. And what else? I think that's all I'll promote. RateThisPodcast.com/doomed. If you could, if some of you could be a doll and leave a podcast review. Apple Podcasts would be great, but wherever would you like, really. There's a bunch of links at that very URL I just gave you all where you can leave podcast reviews. But let me read a recent podcast review right now. I like doing this because I think some of them are fun. Where is it? All right, here we go. The most recent review is, here we go. Kingston says, I love Doomed. Matt, you are rock solid. Great political analysis with a bit of punk flavor. Check it out, folks. That's right. That's right. I like that. That's just one of the many reviews you'll find, and I would like you all to leave some as well. All right, let's Andy Cole in the YouTube chat just Patreoned you, Matt. Why, thank you, Andy. We are I think we're just like, we're less than a dozen away from 300. Maybe like 10. Again, if you're listening to the podcast version of the show, it is already October 1st, most likely, and you will go and see that we are not at we are no longer close to 300, but maybe if you join right now, we will jump back up and make up for who we lose. And of course, if you can't financially support this show, please do not do it. You could help by spreading the word. Tell your friends about the live stream. Tell your friends about the show. Tell your favorite other podcasters and live streamers that, hey, you should have Matt Binder on your show, because that helps. Me getting in front of other audiences for sure helps. All right, so let's enough with the self-promo. You all know how much I hate doing it, but I gotta. Let's jump right into today's topic. Now, I mean, you've probably heard by now some of the details coming out of this congressional hearing today on Facebook and Instagram, and how they affect children. Well, children as in users in their teens. To me, in my mid-30s, children. They're under 18, right? Now, because on Instagram, you have to be at least 13 years old to use it. So we're talking about people between the age of 13 and 18, right? Now, the congressional hearing was in front of the Senate Subcommittee on Consumer Protection. Chairman is, Richard Blumenthal, the Democratic senator from Connecticut. And he went viral earlier today because another instance of a politician, a congressperson, not really understanding technology, social media. You know, this stuff always goes viral. Remember when Mark Zuckerberg said something, I don't remember what it was, to a senator who didn't quite get something at a hearing, and it went viral, and there were like t-shirts printed up and all other bullshit. But let me just play this clip. Let's get it out of the way. Here is Senator Blumenthal saying what he said. Not quite. Not this clip. This is from last week. Here we go. Not quite getting the technology. And then Facebook's global head of safety, Ms. Davis, she quickly explains to him what a Finsta is. Oh, my God. I can't believe I'm playing this.
will you commit to ending Finsta?
Senator, again, let me explain. We don't actually do Finsta. What Finsta refers to is young people setting up accounts where they may want to have more privacy. You refer to it as privacy from their parents. What in my interaction with teens, what I found is that they sometimes like to have an account where they can interact just with their.
Right. All right, here we go. Did you say something else?
Well, Finsta is one of your.
Actually,
Finsta is one of your products or services. We're not talking here about Google or Apple. It's Facebook, correct?
Finsta is slang for a type of account.
Okay, will you end that type of account?
I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're asking. What I can say is that based on what we've seen in terms of teens using those kinds of accounts, we've actually given them additional privacy options.
All right. So clearly, Senator Blumenthal did not understand what a Finsta was. His aides clearly put together stuff that he was reading from, and he seems to have misread it or misunderstood it. Finsta is basically like the Facebook representative said. Finsta is basically a fake Instagram account, someone's secondary, someone's alt account. Young people set up a secondary account called a Finsta to put stuff on there that they wouldn't necessarily post on their main account. Whether it's something more private or something more insidery, like inside jokes with real life friends, as opposed to the friends they've curated via Instagram posting. It's not something that Facebook actually runs. And everyone was laughing at Senator Blumenthal. Ha ha ha. Yes, it's stupid. But I feel like these sort of things and Champagne Libra in the YouTube chat is laughing. LMFAO, abolish Finstas. Yeah, I mean, it's stupid that he thought it was a Facebook product. Like Facebook could stop their, when you create a Facebook account, you can't check mark the Finsta box anymore. I mean, he clearly did not mean this, but there are ways Facebook could actually stop Finstas. You could deem it so you can only create a single account, right? You can't have multiple accounts, and they know. They know. I mean, sure, there are different loopholes you can do so that they don't know, but most teens are probably not, using a VPN. Most teens are probably not using one of those workarounds for their secondary account. So, I mean, there are certainly ways Facebook could not abolish Finstas, like Champagne Libra said, but there's certainly ways they could make it so most teens are not creating Finstas, if that was something that they felt like they needed to do. But anyway, that's not what he meant. But, this stuff goes viral. And listen, if it brings eyes to the overall point of this specific hearing, then that's great. More people should know what's going on here. If it's just a viral moment to laugh at Senator Blumenthal, I also think I don't care about Senator Blumenthal, so fine, do that too. But what I want to say, if that's all that comes out of this, and no one really looks into what Facebook and Instagram have found through their own research, then, I mean, who cares what Senator Blumenthal said? Yes, it's important that our politicians understand this technology and what they are advocating that they regulate. And in many cases, if you don't understand a certain technology and you're trying to regulate it in some way, that could be a problem. You need to sort of understand what you want to make laws on, right? And it certainly shows that we definitely need younger people running our country, right? I mean, Congress is old. I think the average age, the median age is in their mid 60s. Not good, especially when dealing with technology. But I mean, the Finsta thing is not really something that's going to stop any of the things that need to be done on this specific issue. So I digress on how important this viral moment is. To me, the issue should be on the fact that Facebook and Instagram, and this is what this congressional hearing is on. Facebook and Instagram, Facebook, the company as a whole, their platforms are Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp too. They had internal research that showed that their platforms are harmful towards teenagers, especially teenage girls. Now, this was material in the form of slides, like presentations, that were leaked to the Wall Street Journal. And the Wall Street Journal reported on this. And some of this information is certainly very worrying. Something like, I believe it was 13% of UK teens and high single-digit percentage, I think 6 or 7% of US teens basically said that these platforms were not good for their health, their mental health. Feelings of loneliness, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, really permeated their feeds and affected how they, their own mental health. And it's one thing for these platforms to go out there and, they do their thing and they say, we really can't speak to this specific, our role in this, we're sort of looking into it, or, our role isn't as such. I mean, we're just the medium here. And there are aspects where I agree with that. The right wing likes to present that the pandemic created this atmosphere where kids were going out and committing suicide. And I have to say that is really not based, in my understanding and what I've read, in reality. These sorts of things are not triggered by just being home during the pandemic. There's something more there. Can the pandemic and the issues that go along with the pandemic contribute? Sure, there's no doubt that there are issues that stem from the pandemic and lockdowns and quarantines that weigh on people's mental health, no doubt about it. But the idea that alone and no other underlying factors contributed to someone going out committing suicide, to me, just doesn't make any sense. And from what I understand, the experts and professionals out there also would agree with that. No one just would go out and self-harm simply because of the pandemic. The pandemic can contribute to something else that's there, but that's not why they do that. So similarly with this, sure, someone who has self-esteem issues is going to have them without Facebook and Instagram. Someone who is depressed is not depressed solely because of what they see on Facebook and Instagram. There's obviously things going on at home, things going on internally that they're unhappy with. There are many factors. But we have right here is Facebook's own research, though, where they knew that this wasn't just like a situation where people were sharing their feelings on their platform. Teens were specifically saying that, no, my usage of these platforms directly in turn had me feeling these ways. And there are some leaked slides that I want to bring up right now. Give me 1 second to pull them up. And, they are, quite frankly, worrying. Here's one, quite frankly, that in Facebook's own words, completely analyzes the issue here. Let me make it a little bit smaller so you can see. Okay. The title of this slide is "Aspects of Instagram Exacerbate Each Other to create a perfect storm in terms of these issues. And this is the one I wanted to pull up, actually. This is the one I was thinking about before I pulled up the other one. Look at this. This is Facebook's own internal research here. Users' experience of downward spiral is exacerbated by our platform. And on Instagram, for example, there's a pressure to look perfect. Some of these, the text here is hard to read because these are leaked slides. Clearly, these pictures that were taken. And, Wall Street Journal has made some of these slides, all of these slides, I believe, public now. Here's another one I want to bring up. This one is another amazing one. And, by amazing, I mean quite disturbing. Here are some things researchers heard from teens in their study. Mental health outcomes related to this can be severe. As for eating disorders, you had teens saying, I keep looking at these images, spiraling. After getting off Instagram, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't eat or try to eat less. I mean, again, there's an underlying issue there. They didn't start feeling unhappy with their weight or how they look because of Instagram, but this is Instagram directly causing the problem to be worse, like directly giving them the ammunition to harm themselves by those pictures. I mean, body dysmorphia. I wish I had the money to get my nose / other body parts fixed, something they heard. Body dissatisfaction. When I keep looking at these pictures, I feel like I'm too big and not pretty enough. It makes me feel insecure about my body, even though I know I am skinny. Depression. The constant judgment and jealousy can take you to a dark place. Sometimes after spiraling, I just close my phone and lie in bed. Loneliness. I feel like maybe because I look like this, I don't have a boyfriend. I saw this kid with acne and he had friends. I didn't realize that was possible. I mean, that's depressing. That's rough. That's rough. I mean, and I want to stress here, this isn't like, Facebook in their research, realizes they do this too. They even compare themselves to other social networks. Here, look. Here's another slide directly from Facebook. Well, through their leaked slides. On Instagram, explore, feed, and stories contribute to social comparison, but in different ways. On Explore, that's like the search function where you're not really search, but when you like the recommendations Instagram gives you. Tons of body image triggers, intimidating. On the feeds and profiles, the standards, aesthetics, one-upping each other, rabbit hole of discovery. Celebs have high impact, high frequency compounding. On Instagram stories, see celebs first. Formal to be seen, broadcast, face, body, celebrities. And they compare themselves to Snapchat in that sense, where Snapchat's fun, social, entertain, closest friends. So there's comfort there. Face only, no bodies. I guess that's the type of stuff usually, type of content posted to those networks. No celebs. So on Snapchat. Oh, I mean, in terms of your, how Snapchat works, not like you're seeing celeb content in your feed, because Snapchat's really for people you know. I mean, it's listen, and I want to say, like, obviously, Instagram. I'm not saying that these are young people who are happen to follow these accounts. And what can Instagram do? Ban people who post pictures of themselves in bikinis? Of course not. But we're talking about like the recommendations and the things that Instagram push into these feeds as well. We're not just talking about like what your friends post, because even Instagram states themselves that's not what it's all about in their own research. There is a whole culture on there, fomented by the platform's culture of, having the perfect body, or here with the interactions, how that works there, being, popular, racking up followers, racking up likes on your photos. And again, these are issues on other platforms too, but Instagram, in my estimation, not even my estimation, you can see the numbers. You can see public numbers. Young people use Instagram. Twitter, sure, young people are on Twitter, but Twitter's for certain types of users. It's not like Twitter is the number one platform for young people. Facebook, obviously, is a bunch of older users. Young people are leaving that platform in droves. By the way, Instagram, again, owned by Facebook. Instagram is like the major platform for young people, and TikTok's hot on its trail, obviously. But even if there's some of these slides here, actually, where Facebook even says itself that, TikTok is not, young people are not internalizing the stuff on TikTok in the same way they are on Instagram. It's just being used differently. Instagram has found that they are a platform that is toxic to young people. And it's especially concerning. Because, Facebook has come out and tried to defend themselves, which is fine. Obviously, they're going to do that, and they have the right to do that, and they're trying to say our research is being misconstrued. They put out slides with annotations where they say that it's being misconstrued, and they try to explain the data where, there are, something like, here it is. Where was this? Something like 12 out of 12 things that they asked teens if they were getting out of Instagram in terms of positive to their, positive aspects to their mental health. Something like 8 out of 12 young women received, and like 12 out of 12 young men received. Fine. I mean, okay, if you're asking them like that, sure. But they're also telling you the harmful aspects too. And in Facebook's own conclusion, they have, of their leaked slides, they have, body image comparisons are formed by a trifecta of factors: body standards, flawless skin, and fashion. Social comparison journeys mimic the grief cycle. Confidence building and inspiration are rooted in the combination of reality, accessibility, and attainable aspiration. Social comparison is worse on Instagram. It is perceived as real life, but based on celebrity standards. Explore and profile stalking enables never-ending rabbit holes. There they are admitting themselves that the way their platform works, Explore, again, is an algorithm-based Instagram feature, enables never-ending rabbit holes. Celebrity content is more frequent, but friends' content is more impactful in terms of social comparison. Other apps are shielded by fun filters. TikTok is grounded in dance, fun. That's what I was bringing up before. Snapchat is sheltered by the element of fun that keeps focus on the face and not the body and sharing with close friends, what I said before. At the other extreme, VSCO, which is a filter app, mobile app, is a detached dream that is 100% edited. So here you have basically Facebook saying that, these teens are actually able, when they're using VSCO, to realize what is real and what's not. And to them, VSCO, because of how it's used and how it's marketed itself and how it's basically created its platform, everyone who uses VSCO knows it's all, it's make-believe. Stuff on there is just filtered and and not based in reality. Whereas Instagram is the exact opposite. Teens use it and can't tell that this is not like a fake world that, celebrities have curated and created. So you would think they're living this life. They see this skinny celebrity and, this, when I say celebrity too, you have to remember, we're not talking about like Hollywood celebs who are like inaccessible and unattainable. For young people, celebs are those influencers who they create these parasocial sort of relationships with, and they think they know them and they feel connected to them. And they feel like, oh, they wouldn't lie to me. This isn't Hollywood magic. This isn't the power of editing and post-production and, Photoshop. My favorite influencers posting their body on Instagram. And that's who they are. That's naturally that's real. They're having the time of their life out there, laughing in the photo with all their friends. In reality, I saw this great, I don't have the video on me. Shit. It's really a fantastic video. Let me see if I could quickly. All right, here it is. But in reality, this is what all social media is really. But to stress, Instagram especially is like this. So here's a clip that really tells you exactly how all social media is, just for people who aren't really sure. Let me pull this clip up right now. Now, if you're listening to the audio clip of the podcast, you can't see this video, but let me replay it for live streamers. It's a video someone shot of a bunch of influencers taking an Instagram photo, or a photo for wherever, but it could be Instagram, and they're at a bar, and they're posing for the photo, and the second the photo, the snapshot is taken, they immediately drop the smiling faces and look miserable. Just so I don't get copyrighted on any music. One more time, because this video is hilarious. Let me go back to the, here we go. Facebook's own research even goes further than just identifying the problems. They realize that there are things they can do to fix the issues on their platform. And excuse me if I'm not saying Visco right. That's beyond me. That's even where I tap out in terms of young people apps. I am familiar with it. I just don't know how it's pronounced. Targeted interventions. Celebrate small but meaningful accomplishments to show users their lives are moving forward. Show progress toward a goal. Showing the journey rather than just destination highlights. Customize and personalize Instagram experience. Allow users to easily show dislike for types of content to customize the algorithm. Timeout breaks. Surface fun filters. Some of this is like corporate speak, but they are realizing that there's things they can do. And the fact of the matter is they just really haven't done them. In fact, what they've decided to do instead, since halted, I should add, when this stuff leaked. So it's not like the research made them decide, oh, we should pause this. The leak of the research and the bad PR they were receiving made them pause this. They were playing an Instagram for Kids app. I'm sorry. Bad idea. Instagram for Kids app. I don't understand how that would actually be used, to be quite frank. I know there's a YouTube Kids. My children use it. And for video content, it makes sense because there are legit content producers out there, like legitimate educational companies, creating content for these apps, these specific kid-oriented apps. YouTube Kids, you go on there. Obviously, there are creators who create kids-related material, but they have to specifically click a button that says this is for kids to enter the YouTube Kids app. And sure, there are times where things that aren't supposed to go through that app get through, But for the most part, the app is now, at the very least, a curated experience for children that show like Sesame Street, Peppa Pig, kid-oriented stuff. Paw Patrol. Uh, it took criticism and bad PR for YouTube to get there too, but sure, they got there, and that's where we are right now. But for Instagram, I'm not sure like what Instagram for kids would be. Now, remember, Instagram for kids would be under 13, which is like pictures of the. I don't even know. I don't even understand it, quite frankly. How it would actually be. I know there's a messenger, Facebook Messenger for kids. My children are like my son is 6. He ain't using Facebook Messenger for kids even. So that's where I don't have experience with children in that slightly older age range. But I mean, at the hearing, Facebook didn't even have answers for some really obvious stuff. Ed Markey, Senator Ed Markey from Massachusetts, he had some great line of questioning. He also had some really corny remarks, like he said IG stands for Instagreed, which I understand what he's saying. The sentiment is, yeah. But he also, actually, this one was pretty good. Instagram is that first childhood cigarette meant to get teens hooked early. Right. I mean, yeah. In terms of how Facebook views Instagram, get them onto your platform early, and then they'll be on there, and then they'll eventually move to Facebook as they get older. But one really simple thing Markey asked was if he committed to, Markey asked if Facebook would commit to whether the company would promise not to include features like popularity quantifiers, like numbers and follower counts on any service marketed towards children. That seems to make sense for me. Again, let's use the YouTube comparison. They didn't always do this. They needed to take some bad press to finally get to this point, but YouTube content for kids, even on the main YouTube.com platform, if it's for kids, there's no longer a comment section. Quite frankly, I think that's good. There should not be user-generated comments, especially on a site like YouTube, where you guys know how toxic those comment sections and live chat streams could be on YouTube. You don't want that shit on the same page as your Muppet Babies video that kids are watching. So they have made changes to the platform specifically for their youngest users. And Facebook just wouldn't commit to removing follower accounts or like numbers or any sort of social media popularity quantifier. I mean, personally, for adults, that's fine. Adults like seeing the popularity counts, the follower counts, the likes. I don't care. But for children, it seems like it'd be bad. I mean, not even seems like it'd be bad. We know how it is for teens on Instagram because it affects them in the ways that Facebook's own research has uncovered. It seems like a simple thing to say. Yeah, if we released Instagram for kids, it would just be for the kids' content. No like numbers and follower counts. And then another thing he asked them to commit to was, and to me this seems so obvious. So obvious. He asked them to commit to banning influencer marketing on kids' platforms. I don't understand how you can't commit to that. I mean, first of all, again, using the YouTube example, they took a big hit about this, how they were advertising to kids and they were actually collecting data for children when they weren't supposed to in order to allow that to be used to determine advertiser targeting, like ad targeting for children. They don't do that anymore. You know, and Ed Markey even pointed out that he actually is behind existing laws where for television, you cannot sell product to children within the program. Like obviously advertisers can pay for ads during the commercials, and obviously broadcast very obvious advertisements during those programs. But during, like in a children's program, like a children's show host cannot come out on Nickelodeon and say, buy this product. You could do that. I mean, you can see that it's all over. You can see that. But Facebook would not agree to that. I mean, you see how influencer marketing is on Instagram. You have young people buying all this like Instagram e-commerce junk on there. There's all sorts of like viral products on Instagram that get sold. But they won't commit to not doing that sort of thing. The influencer marketing stuff for young people. I mean, honestly, I think there is way too much gray area there, even on other platforms. I have a real problem with some of these platforms, like with some of these creators, like, for example, Ryan Toy Review. My son was really into Ryan Toy Review for a while, and there were some videos where I thought they were fine, just them playing. Obviously, if you're doing a video where your kid's playing with a toy, it is what it is. They're going to play with a toy, and but there are some that are obviously like, this toy was provided to the family. They might have received payment to specifically promote that toy. The kid has his own line of toys, which he promotes in his videos. I mean, this is a gray area to me, and it shouldn't be. You should not be able to promote this sort of stuff to children. Another kids creator that my daughter, who's 2, is really into is Blippi. And now I'm not sure how much, if Blippi has never done this, but for the most part, Blippi's videos are him going to a child's play place and just playing there. Or there's some educational stuff. There's some him like playing, and my daughter likes that. Or he goes to the zoo, or he goes to a public park, like a playground. That's fine. He doesn't, from what I've seen, he doesn't do much advertising of products, if any, but I'm sure there's some videos where he does. But I think that should be like the standard, though. You should not be allowed to market products to children within the actual content. And Facebook wouldn't commit to that either. I will say it did give Senator Markey a chance to reintroduce his Kids Act, actually, which aims to address some of these situations we just talked about. Like, for example, it would, on a federal level, ban online platforms for children that are targeting children, basically users under the age of 16, according to the Kids Act. It would ban like autoplay features and push alerts, which is good. Kids' content shouldn't autoplay. Kids' platforms, I should say, shouldn't autoplay videos nonstop. There should be a point where they say enough. You've watched enough, unless a parent wants to intercede and allow the child watch more. Push alerts seem like a terrible idea so yeah, that shouldn't be allowed. Obviously, it would prohibit kids and kids' content from amplifying violent and dangerous content. Depends what, to me, dangerous and violent is. Like, I think kids should be allowed to watch, Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. I don't find a problem with that sort of stuff. But if we're talking like those bizarre videos out there where creators are chopping the heads off of like Elsa from Frozen and like having blood squirt out the neck, I mean, yeah, kids shouldn't watch that. See, that's the thing for me. That's the thing for me as a parent of 2 kids. there is like a clear difference between like these just like everyday like online content creators and what kids content is on TV and in the movies and such. And it sucks that it's like this because I want to obviously do my politics, support like these small indie non-corporate creators and not these like big corporations. But when it comes to this, there's a vast difference between what's allowed in both. And like I trust you know, Nickelodeon, for example, or Cartoon Network, to have some sort of standards in terms of like how they show things. Like, you know, you can like Power Rangers has fighting in it, but they know what a kid could handle in terms of like, yeah, there's punching and kicking, but they're not, you know, beheading someone and having uh, Jason the Red Ranger holding up a putty guy's spine as blood drips down it, right? But on the other hand, like you go on YouTube and there's these small creators who are like, "Oh, Sky from Paw Patrol is so sick," as they hold a Sky toy. Let's take him to surgery. And then they take out a scalpel and open up the Sky Paw Patrol toy and pull out guts, like fake guts and like goo what do you call it? What's that stuff? I can't remember. I want to say Play-Doh, but I'm not thinking of Play-Doh. You know, they pull out Play-Doh that's supposed to look, yeah, like there's a huge difference there. I'm sorry. Also, you know, these companies tend to actually work with experts in children's psychology and education to create content that, if it's at the very least not educational, it at least is, you know, make sure they adhere to standards of, you know, what children can handle. The YouTubers and Facebook creators and Instagram posters, they're not doing that. I mean, they're just not. They're just putting up whatever gets them the most views. Slime. Thank you, Pranay. I don't know why I couldn't. Gak. That's another one I was trying to think of. Yes, thank you. It's like, you know, so weird some of the kids' content you see online. Disturbing. You know, I have plenty of criticisms of Disney and other big children's companies, but I know they're not going to, you know, forever alter my children's view of things by showing them, you know, detrimental, you know, gore and shit like that. You know, Sesame Street, I could put my kid in front of Sesame Street and know they're going to view safe educational content, entertaining kids content. When my son was into Ryan Toy Review, there were times where I was like, this is so exploitative how they're promoting some of these toys. There's nothing educational here. There's no lesson. It's just sheer consumerism here. You know, and it's, you know, did my cat just fall off his perch? I just heard a huge crash in there. Hopefully it was the cat and not the kids falling off their bed. But anyway, Facebook would not. Back to the Kids Act. Excuse me. And the Kids Act from Markey would also prohibit websites from recommending content that includes host selling or influencer marketing, such as unboxing videos. Yeah, I mean, this should just go without saying. I mean, this to me is the easiest thing to agree to. I mean, yeah, there are ads in kids' apps, and they're obviously ads. You want to sell content to kids, they should be subject to the advertising rules out there for children, labeled ads, viewed by human people to make sure that the ads adhere to regulations. And fine. But the in-content advertising to children, I think that should be the easiest thing to say no to in an app targeting children. Anyway, I'm sure there's a lot more to go into here. But I wanted to give you guys a quick rundown of what this is all about. I think in the near future, I'll have some, probably do an episode on it with some experts in the field of both social media regulation and also how this stuff affects kids. I mean, the show is called Doomed, and I think this is truly some doomed-worthy type of stuff here. I mean, I don't know how your own researchers can basically say, we got a problem here. And the first thing you do isn't, let's deal with this. And listen, there are unintended consequences, sure. I remember talking about like the normal social media startup, like tech startup, like break stuff, like build fast and break stuff or whatever it is. I'm not even talking about that, which I think is abhorrent when it comes to various different niches. Like obviously if your platform is like a blog, you could do that. But when your platform is a like a autonomous vehicle, you can't do that. You know what I mean? There's real world direct consequences there. But you know, that aside, I'm not talking about that. Unintended consequences. Facebook finds out, oh, our platform is toxic to teens. It's making them feel depressed and want to self-harm and give in to their body disorders, their eating disorders. I don't know how you think you should go ahead with Instagram for Kids instead of dealing with this situation first. All right. How much time is that? That's I always go long. I thought this would be a short show. I thought I'd give like the freebies like 30-minute show, 40 minutes maybe. We're already approaching almost an hour. We're at like 55 minutes. That's the first half of the show. Let's go to the second half of the show. Live stream viewers can stick around. Obviously, patrons can stick around. Patrons will even get this added to the Patreon channel, separate from the full live stream, audio version too. But live stream viewers, people watching live, and patrons, you stick around. For the freebie listeners, this is where I say goodbye to you all. Patreon.com/Matt Binder to support the show. Oh, by the way, if you're watching live, you'll notice I'm wearing my Dare hoodie. Yeah, I decided to wear it because I noticed. Actually, I looked at it and decided that's how I was going to title my the episode today. So I decided to wear it. It seemed like it fit the episode. I just hope. Listen, to close it out here, I just hope. Just directly right now, there's many things we could talk about Facebook and Instagram. I felt like I'm being very fair here. Much fairer than I think others or even I should be. I think at the very least, right now, Facebook needs to deal with the results of their own research. They need to address it immediately. I think they would receive a lot of goodwill for doing this. We've already seen how they exacerbate other issues. I don't think my daughter's feeling too good today. Don't worry, I'm not just leaving her there. Her mom is taking care of it. Facebook, has exacerbated a number of issues. We see how QAnon and anti-vaxxer conspiracies spread on there. We've seen how it's been used by extremists. We've seen how foreign actors have used it to upend elections. Let's put all that aside for a second. Facebook needs to address this specific thing immediately. This isn't an issue that could be kicked down the curb. This is something where young people could basically take their lives because of the content they're inundated with on these platforms. Again, I'm not asking Facebook and Instagram, and not only anyone is asking Facebook and Instagram to work magic. These kids will still come across issues based on their friends and who they follow on any platform. But clearly, Facebook's own research has found that the way the Instagram platform works, the way its algorithm decides what to promote, is the issue here. We can continue to deal with how social media has affected society as a whole and is affecting children. But when you know that your platform, distinctly your platform, as told by your own research that compared it to other platforms and found that your platform has a distinct issue compared to all other social media platforms, I think that is the obvious thing to do, addressing those issues. All right, let's go to the second half of the show. Patreon.com/Matt Binder. If you could help, if you support the show, I will open up the Skype. I'll take calls. Doomed Live. Search Doomed Live on Skype, and I'll take your calls. There's maybe a video or two I'll play. We'll take a look at what else is there. All right. To the freebie listeners, I will see you all next time on Doomed. All right. We're back. And of course, I forgot to open up Skype. All right. Skype is taking a minute to open. What's going on here? Am I in the right? I am. All right, cool. Oh, I see there's already had a few missed calls. Call in right now. I will take your call immediately. Joe Rogan's social credit supervisor in the YouTube live chat. Oh my God, I already signed up for the Patreon. Downloading Skype is out of the question. I'm sorry. Oh, here we go. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it is Kowalski on a convoy in Nebraska.
What do you mean by a hello? First of all, hello, Kowalski. Second, what do you mean a convoy?
Well, the combine is done, so it's leading the way. Behind that is the grain cart. Behind that is me pulling one of our cornets.
You're breaking up, Kowalski. You're breaking up.
Me Dude, semis. We're heading home.
You're
I'm gonna
breaking
have to
up.
try again some other time. You have a good evening.
I wanted to hear from Kowalski. Why is it breaking up? Oh man. Try calling in a little bit, Kowalski. I did want to talk to you. Ah. What is a con? What are you talking about? Andy Cole says, Matt, can you talk about the Steven Donziger trial a bit, please? Ruling is coming down tomorrow. You know, I wanted to talk with him. It just never came together. I never had a chance to. I I don't know enough about the case to discuss much more than what I think you already know, Andy. I'll mention something in a minute. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi Matt, it's me, Rem. How you doing? Can you hear me fine?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. I could be doing better, but oh, well, who cares about that? But
Oh wait, I see.
I
Hold on. I see you're on video. Do you want me to pull you up
sure.
or? Okay, cool. Hold on one second here. There we go. Hey, Rem, how are you? What would you like to talk about today?
Um, well, I really appreciate the episode because it's kind of interesting and ironic that you bring this up because I've been dealing with a lot of like really, really terrible people on Instagram, and I can understand how it can be a very toxic place for young people or for just anybody really, but obviously young people because they're very impressionable and they look up to people on
Right.
on Instagram. So
Right. They also don't have the, I mean, listen, we're all susceptible to horrible shit, of course. But I don't think, obviously as you get older, you realize just how consequential, or in this case, inconsequential something is. Someone's being a shithead to you online. I'm 35. I know that I can step away. Uh,
for
personally,
sure.
personally, I'm a masochist, and I love that type of shit.
I've noticed with your Michael Tracy debate, which I almost walked away from.
we'll,
I
we'll get,
don't know how you did it. Props to you.
right. We'll get that we'll get that in a second. If you want to talk
Sure,
about that too, we'll talk. You could stay on. And we'll
for
talk
sure.
about that. But my personality, my specific personality aside, adults know for the most part, obviously, know that they can walk away from a situation. That particular situation really has no bearing on their life. What some asshole says online really means nothing to them in the big picture, even if it annoys them in the moment. Young people, especially today, where they've grown up online, they don't know anything other than social media. Uh, that
For
is
sure.
their world, and if that world has been tainted in some way, then it's not something they can walk away from. That is what they do and who they are and how they live. Maybe that's something we should address too in some fashion. I mean, I myself have just looked at how much time I spend online sometimes, and I'm like not even for like mental health reasons, because again, I've become very desensitized and can handle this sort of stuff after the decade plus of doing it, but just like from a standpoint of like so many years on this earth, do I really want to spend them all just sitting in front of my computer? Like sometimes I'm just like, just get offline and just enjoy. You know what I mean? Just enjoy
Well,
the outdoors and
you're right. You're right. Sometimes we just forget. We just get kind of sucked in, and we can't help it. I didn't mean to get so hooked on Instagram. I just found a lot of Nazis there, and I wanted to help battle them and maybe take some down. And I'm talking real, literal Nazis who are very proud of being Nazis, and they have all the imagery and the symbols and the rhetoric, and they don't like trans people at all. So whatever. But I know you had such a doomer episode, ironically enough, with the Instagram. But I have the internet is a very double-edged sword. I've noticed. Obviously, it can be useful. It can be like we're talking now, and it can also be a place of it could be a very dark place. And I really wanted to give people some like a positive role model to look up to look up to someone, or maybe go after, or maybe like they'll be a good idea. Like his name is Jeffrey Marsh. My therapist sent me this book, and he's on Instagram. He's on, I think, Snapchat. He's everywhere, and he's a really really nice man. And he gives people a lot of positive vibes, and I try to follow a lot of positive people online, so that when I'm dealing with really terrible people, it can counterbalance with that, with like some really nice, influential people who know how to respond to this kind of stuff. Like I don't necessarily know how to respond. I kind of get frustrated and heated with some people. Like I can't help it. But yeah, Jeffrey Marsh. If anyone wants to look him up, and he's sometimes his book seems a little corny, but when you listen to him, he makes a lot of sense. But that's just an idea. There is a lot of people on Instagram that are just positive role models, like you said. Like there's a lot of fat role models. So they're just so carefree, and you just can't help but smile. And that's the body positive kind of people. Um, my partner Abby, who is very tired from work right at the moment, so that's why she's not here right now, modding the chat. But she follows a few people on social media that are just really positive people, and it makes her feel good.
Right. I mean, I think, if you find something, I can't speak to that specific individual that you mentioned, but and I'm personally, I've never been really one to get into those types of, like, self, help positivity people, but I know they're very helpful for some people. And if you find something, obviously, that helps you achieve some sort of good place, mental health wise, go for it. Obviously, with the addendum that, hopefully the person who's not bringing you mental health peace is some, like, terrible right wing
Oh
extremist.
hell no! Fuck no!
But
No
every
no no
you
no
know.
no! I try to follow people that are very self-aware about that kind of
And
stuff.
when I
Like
say you, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about you, obviously, because
for
obviously
sure,
that's
for
not
sure.
you. I mean, the general sense you.
Yeah, I'm very much like you, who has been obsessed with right-wing research and calling out the grifters, finding them, exposing them. I grew up in a right-wing Christian home, and it's not fun. I mean, their bullshit rubs off on you for sure. But I didn't mean to reject it so much. I don't know why I did, but I just did. And I found atheism first because I didn't know you could reject God. I didn't know you could just not care, not believe in God. I didn't know that. I thought that was cool. And then later on, I realized that a lot of the atheists are kind of dickheads, especially on YouTube. They tend to be very anti-feminist and Islamophobic. I don't know why, but that's just what the culture was. And before I found the Majority Report, it was really difficult. YouTube was a very difficult place. It was very depressing because there was so many terrible people and grifters dominating the platform. And then I ran into Majority Report when you guys were making fun of, not you weren't on the show then, you were long gone, but they're mocking Jordan Peterson, and I was just loving it. I didn't know who this guy was. I was just like, he just kind of showed up on this guru page, where they had like Timothy Leary or Alan Watts or I'm drawing a blank here. One of my favorites is Terrence McKenna, but randomly I'm like listening to YouTube and I'm like doing my thing, multitasking, and Jordan Peterson popped up. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He doesn't sound right. Something's a little off about him. So I try to research him and try to find him. And then you guys are Sam and Michael are just ripping on this guy, and I loved it. And then same thing with Joe Rogan. I just kind of started not liking Joe Rogan that much after a while because he started saying things I didn't like. Started siding with right wingers. And then I saw that. But I think that the very first clip I saw was him debating with or just chatting. Joe Rogan doesn't debate, my bad. He was chatting with Dave Rubin, and I didn't even know who Dave Rubin was, but that was just the funniest thing I ever saw. So I started watching a bunch of clips of Majority Report, and then I just kind of fell in love with the live show. I didn't know that was a thing on YouTube. I don't know, and then I found you. I think my partner like put me onto you because I don't remember you being on the show too much. I don't recall.
Yeah, I
I don't
wasn't.
know.
Well, from 2011 to 2015, I was. I was on every day.
Okay.
But then after 2015, I was maybe only on from from 2016 to 2019. I was probably only on Majority Report maybe once or twice a year, just as like a guest when I had
You
something
might
in
have
my.
you might have showed up when I was watching, but I ended up watching every day.
There was one episode in 2018, I believe, where I was on with Sam and Michael in studio. I had called in as a guest maybe once or twice that year too. Then in 2019, probably one or two call-ins as well. But then 2019, I definitely remember I was in studio when on a Michael hosting day as his guest, and we basically like did an old time sake like Matt and Mike type of show. Like we were both shooting the shit. That was a lot of fun. And then 2020, early 2020, Sam had me on as a fill-in host with Jamie. So it was my first time with Jamie Peck doing the show in like January 2020. And the idea was when Sam would need someone to fill in during the heated primary season, I would be one of those people. Well, I did one, and then the primary season ended up not being so heated thanks to the pandemic. So that was that. I think I was a guest one more time in May 2020. And then in July, sadly, we lost Michael. And then Sam reached out to me and asked if I wanted to like join in with Jamie and help, that out while they were
I loved that.
figuring out what to do. And then Emma came in November, and then Brandon joined this year, I believe, and this is the current. This is how we got to current. I've been doing every week since
Oh yeah.
July 2020 now.
Yeah, I got in a little bit late with the election, but it was the 2016 election that kind of threw me back into politics. I was very much into politics. I was listening. I was watching like maybe John Oliver or something, or I used to watch Bill Maher back in the day, but then I realized he was just a kind of a dickhead. I didn't like him. He was just a jerk. And then sadly, The Daily Show ended, and then Noah took over, and I don't like him that much, and so I don't really listen to him. But yeah, you guys definitely help me stay grounded and not go so far left to where I want to burn everything down. Sam definitely kept me grounded because he was very knowledgeable about how politics work and how Congress works, and I was just reluctant to learn, but Sam made it fun. You guys made it fun,
Oh, I thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm
for
sure
sure.
the rest of the Majority Report crew appreciates that as well. I mean, it's important, obviously, to be angry and have feelings and emotions about this stuff because, you should care, and obviously, human emotions. Whenever I see my kids cry, my first response is usually to try to get them to stop crying. But at the same time, sometimes I stop myself and I say like, feeling sad and crying is a part of human emotion, and sometimes we need to do that. And my urge to just not want to see them unhappy maybe isn't what they need in the moment. So that's just basically my way of saying, like, it's fine to have this range of emotions when something upsets you, but you definitely need to step back for a second and smartly think through the actions you're going to take. There are subsections of the left, obviously, that don't do that, and just
Yeah.
blindly rage out on those and act upon those emotions and do things that aren't helpful and won't get them what they want, to be quite frank.
I understand. I understand that a lot of the far left,
I wouldn't even call them the far left, because the far left, I think people call it that when they want to say, like, oh, the out there, the Dorites or whatever. But no, I don't think that's
No,
even.
see, I don't think the Dorites are far left at all. They're just closeted right-wingers.
Right.
I mean, they really are. You have to see it that way, because Jimmy Dore is not a leftist anymore, and I don't know if he ever was. And ironically enough, I did find him first, but I was just kind of listening because I was just trying to find politics, and I love it when it's mixed with humor. That's why I said I liked Bill Maher back in the day, and then John Oliver and Jon Stewart. I liked when politics was in satire, but I loved when it was all mixed together, and it made it fun, it made it interesting, and because the right wingers are very serious, they're very fascistic all the time, constantly, and I was sick of it. Like when Trump was first in the debate stage, I was like instantly like really Trump, this guy, like the billionaire or whatever. And then he starts speaking, and then of course he took on the role of the right wing, like saying all the racist things. So it's like, oh, this guy's a fascist, like right away. I did not like him. I was pretty heated when when he won. I got worried for people like the marginalized groups, and I just got worried. I got scared. But thankfully, it wasn't as bad, but it was bad. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I guess he didn't take advantage of his power as I thought he was going to do. But yeah, anyway, I had one thing I would like to mention, and you can probably let me go because I don't want to go on too long. I'm sure there's other callers. I don't know if you've heard about it, but I'm sure you have. The anonymous Epic leak. I don't know if you've heard about this yet.
What was that?
The anonymous hackers have hacked the, I guess it's like a right-wing base.
I'm sorry. Epic. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I need to cover that on this show. I've been
You
following
should.
it.
I mean,
Yes, it's going to be a whole episode, I'm sure.
it's really juicy. If anyone can just look it up on Twitter, that's where it's mostly being covered. I'm not allowed on Twitter anymore.
I've done stuff on Epic before. They are they've come at me in a statement on their website
Really?
before. Yes, specifically
Interesting.
naming me. They are a bizarre company.
So I've heard. I had never really heard of them,
No,
but
even like feigning professionalism. It's so weird. Like, if for example, I just talked about Facebook and Instagram in this episode.
mhm.
Facebook and Instagram will put out a statement addressing a reporter's claims in a report. Even if they're very unhappy, it'll still be in a, written in a type of way where they need to act somewhat professional, right? They are a major company. Epic will literally go into, will upload PDFs of a ranting blog-esque post where they're attacking individual reporters by name, bringing up all sorts of conspiratorial stuff that you would see from like randos online. It's, these guys are really out there. And basically, for those of you, a quick summary for those of you who don't know, Epic is this domain name registrar that provides a safe haven for a lot of toxic extremist content. Proud Boys had their domain name there. Whenever a company, a platform like a Parler or a Gab is looking to move somewhere because their original registrar said we don't want you here, they'll go to Epic. So they provide this safe haven for these companies.
For sure, yeah, it's very true.
And basically, a massive leak has come out that provides all this information about the Epic customer base, which obviously includes a lot of these types of individuals. So there's a lot of juicy stuff in there.
It is. It was like 80 gigabytes or over 100. Now it's 300 gigabytes of data, and this could last for years. So,
Time to
uh,
dive back in. I looked at some of it.
the
I gotta jump back in.
it's interesting. I don't mean to bring up Andy Ngo again, but oh my God, we now know who runs his website. It's some nobody I've never heard of him. No one has, but it's bizarre. Now he's scrambling to make money now because that's their ad revenue. It's crazy because these people are all about money. They're not about like selling ideas and battling ideas. They're just about making money, and they are right wing. They do believe in some things they say. They're not like 100% grifters. Like, no, he's not 100% a grifter. Like, he's always been a conservative. But he definitely does it all for the money. So it's going to be very interesting. So everyone should stay tuned for that.
Right. Right. Thanks for the call, Rem. Take care. Have a great night.
You too, Matt. Thank you.
Peace. All right. We have a bunch of people waiting to call in on the line. Let's see. Let me let them know they can call in. There we go. Oh, we got calls, lots of calls. I hear them all coming in at once. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hi. This is Mariana, and I am calling from the Twin Cities, Minnesota.
Ooh, Mariana from the Twin Cities. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm actually on break at work right now, so I just wanted to call in during that because I thought the topic of today's show was pretty interesting. Usually I try to write down some notes so I speak like pretty to the point, but I was mopping.
It's
So,
all good. Don't worry about it. Let's. How much time do you got? I want to make sure I don't take up your entire break time.
I have a half an hour break, so I don't think I need to be super rushed, just mindful, but I have a clock, it's fine.
All right, cool.
So I guess the whole thing with social media is pretty interesting to me because, for reference, I'm in my early 20s and I grew up. So during that time, like while Instagram got big, while Facebook got big, and just like seeing how much the platform has changed and how it affects people differently is pretty interesting, and how people talk about it. There, at least to me, when I was listening to some of those excerpts and looking at the slides from the congressional hearing, I don't disagree with a lot of the conclusions that they came to, in that a lot of people do use Instagram basically as a platform to compare themselves to others and stuff. Generally speaking, there's a lot of subcultures and stuff within these communities, but I am skeptical as to what the platform could do at this point. I think it's a bit of a Pandora's box situation. And I'm just, even some of the proposed ideas, I am pretty skeptical as to how well they could work. I do believe the For You/Explore pages are really bad, and maybe that's partly because that's like a new development. The Instagram feed used to just be like who you followed, their photos, and that was it. Explore, I think, was actually an attempt to make it more like TikTok, which I could go off about TikTok because I actually find that to be much more toxic.
Really?
But yeah, maybe part of it's because, well, I don't want to dismiss myself this readily, but like, I grew up with Instagram and not TikTok, and seeing like kids get into TikTok, I really am like everything's the downfall of society is here and all of that stuff. But I don't buy that TikTok is not a platform for comparison or less so than Instagram, because what I mostly see on the For You page, and I I guess I should reference, yeah, early 20s, was teen girl, preteen girl. So what I see on the For You page on Instagram is basically reposted TikToks is a thing. Um, and a lot of those are fashion and beauty, but guess what that references? Body image and like how you look. Now that is it is influenced by who you follow. I've been kind of into like avant-garde makeup since I was younger, so I follow a lot of makeup accounts. But
Right.
I know from other people who don't necessarily follow makeup as like an art form and stuff. They just follow models or like friends and stuff. Their For You pages are filled with basically young, skinny girls showing off outfits and how to do makeup. And it's basically, how do I say this? They kind of look like clones. There's definitely there's been a conversation about how TikTok, literally the algorithm prefers certain facial features, and that was kind of exposed, and the racist implications of that. But this stuff's being posted onto Instagram too. I don't think you could really say one or the other is necessarily worse, but there's a lot of overlap to the point where I don't think TikTok is like, oh, the fun one. Instagram's the more toxic one.
Now, I mean, I obviously have a different. I'm not pro TikTok either. I just want to say, obviously TikTok has many problems of its own, some worse than Instagram. But I think specifically when we're dealing with like the mental health issue of young people, I mean, I could see what you're saying with the For You page, because from what I understand and from my own research into it, TikTok's algorithm is extremely frighteningly on point, where they can somehow really tell like exact niches like that you're into based on who you follow and what you've previously watched.
Yeah.
And like for example, like I don't see that stuff on TikTok. I have like I'm not a TikTok person. I don't have a TikTok account that I promote, but like I have like one that I follow 0 people, and don't and just watch like if like a viral TikTok comes across, and then I'm just like given other like similar type of stuff. Whereas on Instagram, I do have an Instagram where I just follow like political channels and post nothing but photos of myself and my kids, and like screenshots of like political memes or whatever. And my explore page is filled with models, which makes no sense because I don't consume that content on Instagram at all.
Yeah.
It's like again, this could be TikTok could definitely be just as bad in other aspects, but I always sort of, and don't get me wrong, some of the TikTok memes that come about and like the viral challenges, that's definitely like harmful to society as a whole in many other ways, I'm sure. But specifically in terms of like a platform directly contributing to a downward spiral, as Facebook called it, of their mental health. I do sort of agree with the Instagram research from just my own experience, obviously. You're a young woman. You have a completely different personal experience than I do. So your experience is definitely very important and should be factored into the equation, and should definitely be used to make sure that
Yeah.
TikTok is not let off the hook either.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. I'm trying to like use my own experience without being overly anecdotal, because I know how easy that can be to say, well, that's not how I experience X, so you're wrong. But
Like you're
Yeah, so I guess I'm
you're
just
not
kind of
wrong
taking it
though.
day.
I want to make sure you understand you're not wrong, and neither am I. Like this is obviously a situation where there's not like no, there's no definitive answer of whether one platform is worse than the other. They're both bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that for the beauty standards thing, I've actually done research on this because um, I'm a sociology. I had a focus in sociology and basically studied for most of my projects like how beauty standards are created in the contemporary digital society. So maybe I should have talked about that because it's more interesting than me going on about TikTok. But one of the concerning things about Instagram is when we talk about these body dysmorphia issues, I do find that things like TikTok tend to have less of a focus on like concrete actions people can take in which to alter their appearance. So you might see someone who looks like they look like a model or really attractive and stuff, but that's kind of their face. Whereas on Instagram, that is presented as more of a product. There's lots of plastic surgeons there. You know, there's if you go on Instagram, I'm sure you know this, there's now the marketplace where you can like click a click through link for cosmetics that sells a lot of makeup. And I do think that the most damning evidence isn't that these problems that are a problem with all social media basically are present in Instagram, because like I said with the Pandora box thing, I do think that kind of takes on a life of its own. These problems existed far before social media, but the fact that they're adding new features that worsen the problem, a lot of these like are 1 or 2 years old. Like I said, the Explore page is basically a year or two old from my recollection.
Yeah, I wonder
And
how much. I wonder how
yeah.
much, based on what you're saying. I wonder how much of the issue too is, in terms of these platforms, the medium, like the type of multimedia that they focus on. Like with TikTok, it's mostly videos. I mean, that's what
Mhm.
it is, videos. And obviously you can edit videos, but it's not as easy. And so you're a little bit more real in a video. I've seen TikTok videos where like people are basically look like they just got out of bed, which is totally fine. Like if that's what you want to do, like if that's your thing, I don't care. But on Instagram, everything's a little too perfect. You know what I mean? Like everyone, because it's photos, you have a chance to get that one frame, that one moment in time, that one snapshot, picture perfect. You have the time to make sure that like everything's placed where you want it to be. It's not like with a video where you turn and like one side of your room is a mess and the other side of your room is not going to be. With with a photo, it's a lot easier to create this sort of facade with a picture, I should say. It's a lot easier to create this facade of you are perfect and happy, because you just got to get it right for that split millisecond where that one photo is taken.
Yeah, I guess my counter would be, although I don't totally disagree, how much of that, this may be a curveball, how much of that is, very calculated authenticity, which I think it in a way be more dangerous. You know, so it looks less, I think people have become cynical about Instagram in a way they have not become cynical about TikTok. People kind of, I don't think the Instagram presentation, and this could be because I'm older, I'm not a teenager, but I think on some level, plenty of people, especially older people, know that Instagram is not reality. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't affect them subconsciously, but TikTok is a platform in which I feel people, since they act, oh, I'm goofy, oh, I'm doing a joke and meme and dance, it seems like, oh, people are real here, they're unfiltered. And if you're posting something, that is just not the case. I'm sorry.
Right. Right. I see. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, It's I think both platforms obviously have their issues for sure. I think maybe the reason why, obviously, I think the reason why Instagram gets more attention is because Instagram is owned by Facebook, and Facebook is a behemoth of its own. Yes, TikTok is owned by a big, Chinese conglomerate as well, but it just doesn't have the same, I guess, cultural reach in the U.S. quite yet, at the very least.
I,
Um, People know
well,
Facebook, the
yeah.
company, and they have a long standing uh, of being a problematic company in terms of other issues they've had with privacy and offline issues in terms of like elections.
Yeah, I think another thing is, my call is not originally to just scapegoat TikTok and say that's the real problem, but what are you going to do with like a Chinese company? You can actually hold a hearing on Instagram and Facebook, so that's a big component of it. Um, yeah, like I said, I get kind of off script when I don't write down notes, but I think
I thought this was
I
great, honestly. So don't worry about that. Keep going. You're good. If you want to keep going,
yeah,
obviously.
I was gonna say, let's kind of bring it up as to what could be done with these platforms. I I really think, other than taking away Marketplace and the For You page, which I think would cause a lot of obvious backlash, like the only creating one account, the getting rid of Finsta, I don't think is one, going to do anything, two, even really a positive thing. That's like saying you can't have private Twitter accounts or something. I don't know what that's really supposed to address. Just everything is supposed to be public, so I think that's nonsensical. Also, kids these days, everyone knows how to install VPNs. There's free apps you can just download in a second. I use it at work, so I can listen to podcasts and get past the Wi-Fi.
Right. I think though there is clearly. I think obviously young people are technical savvy, but I think most young people. Maybe I'm wrong. You tell me. You're younger than me, obviously. I think even if they have the knowledge of it, I mean, I know when I was, if I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I had to, and I know what VPNs are, but if I had to do that every time I had to log into a secondary account, I wouldn't bother. I'm lazy.
I mean, nowadays they're like an extension. Even on your phone, you can just flip it on. It's in the background. You don't really have to do much.
But
And
every time, but even then, though, just opening an app to do an extra toggle every time I wanted to go to one account and then the other account, I'm super lazy.
I would also say that people have, no, I don't want to call Finstas illegitimate, but people have like very legitimate reasons for running multiple accounts, whether they own organizations or something that's related to specific topics. Like maybe they have a cooking account and a personal account and stuff. So I just think that's like kind of detouring the actual issue.
Right. Oh, I just want to
And
also,
just
but just to be clear, I didn't. That's not something that I thought would solve any issues. I think I was just mentioning that there quite clearly is something they could do if they felt like they needed to do that. But I don't think I agree with you that it wouldn't solve anything. I believe the congressional the congressman's reason for bringing that up is because he viewed it as children, kids, teens hiding real problems in these fake accounts from parents who would be monitoring their main account, which I think obviously there are good reasons for kids and teens to not let their parents in on every aspect of their life. So I don't endorse that, just to be clear.
okay, I was gonna say wait until he finds out about LiveJournal having existed for decades.
Right. Oh, I had I mean, I still do. I haven't used it in probably a decade, but LiveJournal was the big thing when I was young, to put an age on myself.
Yeah, I think just I don't want to ramble and suck up other people's time. But my last kind of ending points or minutes would be that I do think this is important and we need to hold companies accountable, but focusing on Instagram or whatever as the issue is really kind of kicking the can down the road. It's very easy to scapegoat these companies while ignoring, like, they're basically just acting logically. And I don't think I need to tell your audience this, but this is just acting in one's own interest under capitalism for these companies. And humans kind of become the pawns. Culture is shaped by that. Regulation does a lot, but at this point, the problems that face everyone, but especially young people and young women through these platforms, it cannot. I'm sorry. There's nothing you can do that would make it like okay to justify how people have come to see their bodies basically as commodities. And as someone who has had an eating disorder for a decade and depression and anxiety my whole life, like I don't want to get too personal, but like that's something that's become very clear to me. And it's kind of I think that reality that like capitalism basically feeds mental illness is very obscured when we get overly focused on these individual actors and like, oh, they're promoting a bad thing. It's like no, our economic system and social system is what is creating these sorts of phenomenon.
Right. I think that's well put. I know you have your break and I want to make sure you get to actually relax. So I just want to say I appreciate the call. Please feel free to call in again and when you're not at work so we can talk more.
Yeah, I can try to for sure. And actually, I mean, I want to stay on topic, but have some notes and some research and stuff I've done. So it's maybe a little more academic, but conversation is always nice too.
Oh, for sure. And if if you want to come on with, if you have if because it seems like you're well versed in the area. If you want to come on as an actual guest, reach out to me and give me some details about like your work and everything. And I'd love to have you on. Maybe we could even you can come on as a guest.
Okay, I mean, I haven't thought about it, but that'd be like cool and stuff. So, thank you.
All right.
And I love listening to the show. So, yeah, just have a good day and I'll get back to scrubbing floors.
We do what we got to do, right? Don't worry. I've been there. You're in your early 20s.
Nothing wrong with being a janitor.
Absolutely
I get paid twice as much. I get paid twice as much as when I was working at a college. So,
hey, it's legit work, better than any of the other. I mean, you could be selling NFTs or being a cryptocurrency weirdo. I'd much prefer mopping floors, to be quite frank.
Yeah, I'm literally listening to a podcast and talking to someone. So this is already the best job I've had. I can't complain.
There you go. Have a good
night. All right. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. All right, Colin. Oh, we got another call already. What's your name? Where you calling from? Wait, they just hung up somehow. How'd that happen? I was so happy that I grabbed the call the second they called in. I probably just messed it up. Oh. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm calling from Ontario, Canada.
Oh, hey, Ryan. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I got beef with the first caller, but I'll just keep that brief. I don't think it's too. I understand the need to poop on the Jimmy Dore types, but maybe the farther left people who are trying something different and not to. I don't want to like endorse any violence or anything on YouTube. That's bad, but those other avenues might be necessary in some circumstances, especially for colonized people. And I think to dismiss it entirely is a little bit short-sighted. Maybe it's just like they're very like, you know, we live in the first world, blah blah blah. They don't view it as an option. That's fair enough. But I think that it, like, on a wider perspective, maybe it's a little bit more useful. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, I want you to. I didn't really get to fully listen to the Michael Tracy thing, so I thought maybe you'll cover it in a separate show. I don't know. That would be cool.
Oh,
But
I'll talk about it now. Honestly, well, how much time we got? Oh, geez, I didn't realize how time flew.
yeah, I knew it was getting kind of late, so I didn't
I
know.
mean, you know what? Let's do it. I want to. It would be silly not to. I could go deeper into it another day, but it'd be stupid not to talk about it on the show right after it happened.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Well, I guess like what I kind of left when he was like he kind of was raging out and his microphone was popping, but he was basically complaining about like what is his obsession with these COVID rules on campus, because like I know it's a funny meme that he doesn't go to school. That is very funny. He's so obsessed with it, but like what number one, what possesses a dude to go to a school and start doing this? And number two, what possesses somebody to think anybody's going to take his opinion seriously when you insist you don't need expert opinion on anything? I do not need science on my side. He literally is like, I will have off the record uh, uh, conversations with doctors, and that's it. So yeah, that's basically as far as I got in that conversation. Just go from there, I guess.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. You listen. I appreciate him. I appreciate Michael Tracy taking the time to discuss with me. He issued the challenge, and I gladly accepted. We went for 2+ hours. I clearly enjoyed it because even when it was ending, I was still badgering him with stuff. So it's not like I just want to make clear I'm not like going like, oh, I did 2+ hours with Michael Tracy. People know that I'm a sucker for this type of stuff. I love it.
Me too.
So I'm totally into it.
Yeah.
But it was bizarre. It was really bizarre. First off, the 30 minutes up front of him going on about the personal beef he had with the Majority Report jokes about his girlfriend, which aren't really jokes about his girlfriend. It's jokes about the weird Glenn Greenwald tweet where Glenn said that Michael had a delightful girlfriend. And I just
That
found
shit
out.
was so funny. That was so funny.
And I just found out from Emma. I did not know this prior, but I just found out from Emma of the Majority Report today that there was a prior tweet to even the Glenn Greenwald one where Michael Tracy himself said to someone who called him autistic that he could not be autistic. He had a girlfriend, which ableist, and also I didn't. That's also a very funny thing to say. I mean, who talks like that?
I don't know. That is very an interesting choice of words, Michael Tracy.
Now, listen. I went into this not knowing exactly where I was going to get him. I mean, I knew he was going to fall apart somewhere because, to be fair, his case isn't that strong. I mean, if you think COVID policies on a college campus, and again, these are specific campus life, like on campus student life, dorm room, like esque policies. We're not talking like the educational curriculum or anything like that. We're talking you can't have the people in your dorm right now, guests in your dorm right now. You need to wear a mask in these facilities. You need to. One that he really is obsessed with is that you cannot drink inside of a lecture hall or a camp, like a classroom or whatever. And his whole thing is, you can't drink a sip of water for 90 minutes. And it's like, where have you survived, Michael, where you couldn't go that long without water? I mean, I don't know about you, but I wasn't able to like bring food and drink into like my high school classroom or my elementary school classroom. Like we literally had to go an hour without drinking water or doing anything. Like, and when we did, if we really needed it, we'd raise our hands to go to the bathroom. Guess what? We'd have to leave the classroom to get the drink, right? Just like he's complaining about. They
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, oh, I'm thinking like, oh, there's people who maybe they have diabetes or something, they need sugar. But you could leave the classroom and,
That's what they
I guess
specifically say.
it disrupts their learning, but it's a safety thing. It is what it is.
I mean, I've never.
And it's understandable.
The-
That's
the-
what everybody has to do for a drink in school.
Again, this is just anecdotal. This is my own experience. My high school made college seem like, oh, we were super hard. And, like my high school was super strict and hard and everything, and it was all under the line that they were preparing us for college. Gotta tell you, college was much easier by far. Super easy. They treat you like an adult where you can make decisions and you can do things like drink water. Back when I went in the classroom, you could bring like a soda or a drink. Can't do that in high school, which makes it crazy to me that if college took that away from you, oh, no big deal. I just got another 4 years without having to bring food and drink into my classroom like I did all throughout my other 12 plus years of schooling. Just bizarre. you know?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But
But
yeah,
then I, like you brought up, I did end up getting him on the topic of apparently what is journalism, which I wasn't expecting, to be quite frank.
yeah. This is kind of where I dropped out. So I'm kind of interested to in hearing what Michael Tracy had to say, because I haven't re-listened to it yet. I should probably do that tomorrow at work. It'll probably make this conversation. I'll be laughing tomorrow, but yeah.
So like, listen, he went on this whole like monologue. And I even mentioned, I was like, all right, you can't go rambling on like that in a discussion or a debate like this, because how am I supposed to address anything you just said? Like, I've already forgotten half of it. Like, he literally went like 15 minutes nonstop talking about multiple issues. I'm like, you can't do that. And so I'm trying to recall a single topic to hit in that whole monologue he did. And it just hits me like, wait a minute. Let's discuss this, because this is at the very basis of it. Because this is something I noticed when reading his pieces. He also accused me of not reading his Substack pieces, which clearly, based on this question, shows that I did. I said, Michael, why didn't you source anybody to make any of these points you're making? Because there you go. I just addressed it all. You know what I mean? Like, I just addressed everything he just said. Without having to remember one single thing, I addressed it all. Why couldn't you find someone to back you up here? And his thing was, oh, he did talk to people just off the record. And I was like, what? You couldn't find one person to go on the record with you? And he claims that he just never considered it. And that's just bizarre to me. I'm sorry. I mean, listen.
So he never considered that people would, like the vast majority of people would want a doctor's opinion on something about medicine.
He claims that expertise not necessary. He went on in this whole thing about how he's still going on.
It's an elite class. I heard something about
yes, he's still going on about that. Yes. Well, yeah.
How are doctors? I mean, I guess some doctors are petty bourgeois. I guess you could put it that way. They have private practices or whatever, but that's not the vast majority of doctors who are treating COVID patients, right? Well, I guess not in my country. At least. I live in Canada. So.
Even that aside, though, it's sort of pointless, right? Like, I mean, you get sick, you seek treatment, right? You don't go, oh, I'm not going to those bourgeois experts. You know what I mean? Like, you literally go to the doctor. Like, is Michael Tracy never going to consult a medical professional for any health-related issue?
He would if he got COVID.
Right, of course. And so that was his thing. He never considered, he claims he spoke to people. Listen, I don't have proof that he didn't, okay? I can't prove that he did not speak to people. But I do know that when you do speak to individuals, you try to get on the record. If you're a journalist, I do journalistic reporting. I do reporting work. This show isn't always that. Sometimes it is. My time on the Majority Report isn't always that. Sometimes it is. But I do reporting in my day job.
Sometimes we're debating Michael Tracy.
Yes, exactly. And so, if you're putting out a report, a journalistic piece of work, you need to source people to do that. Now he claims he did the work on the ground at Connecticut College and spoke to students, and that's journalism. It is. I agree. That is journalism. If the report is, I went to Connecticut College and spoke to some students about how they feel about campus life under these COVID policies. Here's what these students I spoke to had to say. That is journalism. But that wasn't the purpose of Michael Tracy's report. The purpose of his report, and what he spends the majority of his time on, is talking about how unnecessary these COVID policies are and how they're going to lead to a tyrannical future government, and obviously it's going to seep through the educational world and go through the elite college professors and universities and have implications on our everyday life outside of school in the real world. And I mean, what sort of makes that argument fall apart is that, I mean, we already got that shit going on in the real world, and we had it going on before there was even college was even back in session. I mean, the idea that college campus mask mandates are going to seep into the real world. Guess what? New York City's got a mask mandate if you're indoors already. Many other states and counties and cities have different mandates based on whatever their officials decided to go with. The college ain't going to change those minds one way or the other.
Yeah, this kind of grift that, I don't know, that things are going to get, like, I don't know, the government's trying to impose something on us, as if the government is already not imposing a capitalist, police stealing all of the indigenous people's land, building any pipeline they want. It's like, what country do these people think they live in? Like, it's just so confusing.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think what else was brought up. He did not think talking to an expert was important. I even said, and this is one of the things his supporters, his fans were replying to me afterwards about, basically, you want him to get an expert, so you can say, see, those policies are stupid. You just want one of your Fauci approved experts. And I'm like, well, if you found an expert that claimed his policies were stupid, his feelings on these policies were stupid, then that would sort of undermine his whole point, of which he's not an expert on, right? But B, I also said quite upfront, I was like, but I'm not even saying he needs to get someone who's going to disagree with him. He could easily find, there's a bunch of quacks out there who have the degrees and the expertise in those fields, who are, promoting ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. He could have found one of those people to say these COVID policies are dumb. He didn't even do that, though. That was my whole point. He did not find it important to defer to someone who works in the field one way or another. He thought his opinion was enough, and his opinion is not enough because he doesn't have any sort of knowledge or education in that world. It's just unbelievable to me. And the funniest thing is, he put out a report today where he just tweeted that he did go out of his way to address my claim, and he reached out to an expert and got an on-the-record quote. And I mean, to me, nothing says it more than that. I mean, the idea that I convinced him that was something he should do, and he actually did it. I mean...
Bro, that's debate one. Debate one right there. Big, huge dub. Huge dub.
I won.
Let's go.
I won. There's people who are now looking into the person he quoted and telling me that she's actually not she's an expert in a medical field, just not one that has anything to do with epidemiology or infectious diseases. But I'll listen. I think this is a big step. First step is the big step, right? Big first step.
Yep. It's the first time for him, maybe.
The funny thing is, one of his supporters, who apparently writes to the New York Post, was adding me for days now, demanding I apologize to Michael Tracy because he had found a tweet from a quack scientist of some sort, a quack medical person, like some guy who makes YouTube videos about pushing the right-wing stuff about COVID, even though he just happens to have a medical degree. He found the guy who agrees with Michael Tracy on these COVID policies on college campuses. Fine, listen, I'm not even trying to, I'm not even getting into the avenue of criticizing people who just because they do have the credentials are, they're the 1% of the 90 out of the 99% who don't believe in climate change. You know what I mean? Like there are people who are
Listen, Matt, don't you know they have a girlfriend? Their opinion means a lot.
Right. But anyway, this guy wanted me to apologize to Michael and revoke my criticism about his lack of sourcing in his journalistic endeavors. And first of all, I mean, just because you started doing it after I criticized you doesn't mean I'm retroactively wrong. And then B, like Michael Tracy just admitted that he did it for me. Like he did it because of me. I'm going to apologize for the leveling criticism that he actually acted on. I mean, like you said, I won. That's it. Ball game, debate won. Nothing else matters. Michael Tracy has changed the way he's doing reporting because of something I said during a debate.
You have changed journalism single-handedly.
I did.
That is amazing.
I mean, he should be paying me for that free class in journalism. He didn't even have to go to a college and subject himself to their tyrannical COVID policies to take that journalism class that I gave him.
Oh God, that's perfect. Yeah, that is very true. He did get a great deal there. He definitely made money in super chats, so he didn't lose anything.
It's so
other than his integrity.
All these arguments are so bizarre. It's just all so weird. The idea that you would make such an issue over these COVID policies. Do they go overboard? Perhaps they do. Who fucking cares? They have no bearing on your life. You know who could complain about these policies? The students who are subjected to them. Do they have a right to do that? Sure. I mean, but who cares? They're going to leave college. It'll never affect them again. It just simply does not matter. All sorts of schools have all sorts of policies that all sorts of people think are dumb. But guess what? You just got to deal with them because that's what school is all about. Dumb shit sometimes. I mean, it just frankly is. I mean, I can tell you straight up that I think a lot of this shit's stupid. Am I going to dedicate my life to it? Absolutely not, because it's completely inconsequential in the big picture.
Yeah.
If you have anything else to say, feel free. Otherwise, I appreciate the call.
Oh, I just wanted to shout out the last caller. They were very intelligent. They got me thinking about like the 80s kind of toy thing, like. You know how, all this marketing they did to children back then. And that's kind of why there was somebody else talking about it in chat. In Canada, we had like an outlaw in Quebec about the what do you call it? In-show advertising crap. But yeah, that was thought-provoking. Good call with that caller as well.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call.
Yeah, have a great night, Matt.
Take care. All right, let's do one or two more calls. Hey, you are on the air.
Hey, Matt, this is Dr. Gus calling from Florida.
Hey, how are you?
Good, you? How's it going?
I'm doing good. What would you have to talk about?
Man, first of all, I actually saw the whole Michael Tracy discussion instead of, writing for my dissertation or anything else. So it was a great use of my time. I just wanted to say you have so much patience. It's admirable, really. The part where he went on and on about how he's not interested in the college experience, and then like his interest is like the broader effects of this and general society.
I'm glad you brought that up though. That's another thing. He was so bothered, but I straight up said, for anyone who didn't watch, I straight up said I'm not even like, this is like verbatim quote. I said, I don't give a fuck about your college experience. And that's in,
Yes,
in general.
and he got so triggered. You triggered him.
He
That
got-
was the best part. He
he
got
got-
so triggered.
He got so upset by it. Listen, it's true. If you have a bad or good college experience, that's nice. I don't give a shit. What does that have to do with me? I don't care. Like, that's a personal thing. I don't care, man. If you had, listen, I find that stuff to be completely inconsequential. And he was trying to say, oh, I guess you had a great college experience. Whatever. Listen, I could have skipped college, honestly. I didn't think, looking back, I mean, I had some good experiences and some bad experiences. Altogether, I could have skipped it. I hated school so much when I was young. I didn't go to prom because I didn't give a shit. And like, none of that shit means anything to me. Like, it's completely, that's like what I'm sort of saying. Like, people make such a big to do about their high school life and their college life. It's completely inconsequential to anything. And you're talking this, and listen, even to show you how you're talking to someone who met their partner in school, just to give you an idea of how, like, you know, so I actually got something out of my school experience or whatever. And I'm still telling you that all this other stuff that you do, frankly, just doesn't matter. It just doesn't have any bearing on your life. These dorm room policies, the whatever, the frat parties, none of this shit means anything once you leave school. And he was so bothered by the fact that I said this, and he said I had no empathy for people who are missing out on their college experience due to the pandemic. And at the time, the first thing I thought to think of was like, you know, I would say every generation has a you know, something that affects their college experience or whatever. I mean, you know, there are people who were drafted, and there are people who had 9/11 happen during their college experience. People who had family members go off to war, or, you know, schooling completely changed, you know, because of, you know, imagine what it was like going to school during like World War II. You know, life changes for various reasons. And, you know, and so that's what I first thought to go to. But then as I'm thinking about it, after the debate, I'm like, but wait a minute. This guy who wanted me to be empathetic for these poor college students missing out on their frat parties and their I don't know, whatever else they're missing out on, their college football games. He is saying that in one breath, and then in the next breath telling me, listen, these COVID policies are overkill. Because, yeah, the college students could be spreading this stuff to people who can get sick and die. But those are older people, you know, grandma and grandpa. Who cares? They're going to die soon anyway. I mean, to me, caring about those people not dying is way more empathetic than caring about someone's college experience. I mean, it was just unbelievable he was saying that.
Yeah, and then the other thing, when you talk about people not being able to enjoy their college experience, the people that, besides all the things that you talk about, the people that are generally not able to do so are students that can barely afford to go to college and have to work full-time jobs. And people like Michael Tracy don't give a shit about this.
You know, that's another really great point. I didn't even consider that as a point to bring up in that, as a rebuttal to that. That is a really great point. Yeah, no one considers those who can't take part in it, right? I mean, think about it though. Like, you know, if your worry is like the actual reason you go to college, right? The educational aspect of it. I mean, we found a way to do that during the pandemic. I mean, we can argue whether you know, it's you know, the best way to facilitate that for some people. Sure, some people have problems learning online or through the video chats that were basically depended on during the pandemic, during the lockdowns and stuff. But like, if you really were worried about learning, there were avenues we found to do that. Really, what he's complaining about is like people not being able to like fucking hook up while getting drunk in their dorm rooms. I mean, who cares? That's just completely unimportant in the big picture. Just does not matter at all.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, in my personal experience, I actually had my last semester of veterinary school was during COVID. So everything was shut down, and I had to do the last semester just all video classes, and it was the best. It was amazing. They have to implement that for everything. Being able to double speed lectures, being able to go back and forth and really understand what professors are saying. A lot of high level academics are foreign and have really thick accents. So it's hard to understand sometimes, and it's really nice to go back and forth and be able to. It's nice. And it looks like at least the University of Florida Veterinary School is keeping the video option on and allowing students to, also for disability purposes. It's really nice, and it's kind of nice that all schools are being forced to implement that now.
Right.
So
I
I
mean,
guess that's one
there's-
thing that came from this.
I brought up that too in terms of like, oh, that was another thing that really grinded his gears. When I said, if the aspiration is a return to normalcy, as if the pandemic, and by return to normalcy, I mean as if the pandemic never happened and we're back at like late 2019, early 2020 or whatever, then I mean, that's ridiculous. Never going to happen. Because to do that, you're telling me that we've learned nothing from the time we've spent during the pandemic, for good or for bad. This happened, and I mean, and we've taken things from it, and life will change because of it. There will never be a return to normal. It's the same thing as being like, I mean, I wish I was back at Woodstock 69 or wherever the fucking Woodstock was. Like, for like a boomer to say that, like, that's nice, never gonna happen. Like, time passed and you can't go back. We don't have a time machine. I mean, it is a fact, and anyone who thinks otherwise and wants to go back to life before COVID, full stop, they are delusional. They're living in a fantasy world because it's never, ever going to happen. Will we have a life where we're back in the restaurants without a mask and back at concerts without wearing masks? We're getting the thermometer check at the door. Sure, there'll probably be a point when we get back to that. But it's not like they won't learn anything about how to do, like things are going to change. Like, we've already seen how things are changing in terms of how people are now going to work in the workplace. There's going to be a lot more remote work. Office spaces are changing. I mean, we're not supposed to take that from there. Like, that's also another thing, too. They don't want that to happen, right? Like, these people don't want that to happen because they want, God forbid, service workers find something better and they can't get waited on at a restaurant and berate, a McDonald's cashier for not getting their order right? That's really going to be detrimental to them.
Yeah, and do you remember back before the pandemic when at least I would see them mainly in New York. You would see Asian tourists wearing masks, and it seemed like the weirdest thing out of place because they have had to deal with like the swine flu epidemic and all that, and they were just ahead of their time. Now we're all going to be there. There's always going to be people like that from forever here.
Oh yeah, of course.
We're
That's
gonna
another
need
thing.
it,
Yeah, that's another thing, man. There can be people wearing masks a lot more. Listen, I don't have a problem wearing a mask at all. I mean, I can totally see myself wearing it during the winter because I thought it was oddly enough also a great, even better than a scarf during the winter. You know what I mean? Like just to have it on your face.
For biking, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like during really hot summer months, we don't have to worry about, and we don't have to worry, maybe I won't wear it then. Because, sure, again, not life-changing, not like, oh my God, it's so uncomfortable, I can't do it. But, it's probably more comfortable when you're sweating, your face is all sweaty to not wear one. But, like, during the winter, I can totally see myself choosing to wear it, like, all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I wanted to ask you about the Michael Tracy debate. Did you do that on purpose? That you brought up? Were you like actually planning it to bring up that you don't care about the college experience at the very end to make it matter? Or did it just come up because it was perfect timing?
I mean that's, that's just my opinion, and I knew I was going to mention it because like part of the reason why I had a problem with reporting in the first place is because it is such a stupid thing to care about. Like I really don't get people like that. Like he was really bothered by when we were that segment of the Majority Report. Now I swear I didn't go back and check, but I swear I didn't say him specifically. We were just talking about the types of people who cared about college stuff so much. And the type that I brought up are those people who long for the good old days. They never moved past their glory of the college days, and they are miserable in adulthood. And there is obviously a strong faction of people like that who care about what's happening at colleges. And I mean, I think those people are so sad. I've never understood that. Like, I could not care less about that shit. Like, listen, if my son told me he didn't want to go to college and had a plan, I would not force him to do it. If he wants to go to college, obviously I'll help him with that too. But like, I just don't think it's like something that, like, obviously if you want to do it, you do it. But like, it's just not something to me that is. I should also say, to be clear, obviously, due to how we have how society views going to college, it is sort of necessary for many lines of work, unfortunately, even though it shouldn't be. I mean, obviously, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you should be going to, higher education, right? But, it's not really for everybody. And unfortunately, we've decided that, and I listen, I have a degree in film. I can assure you that, like, when I put this down on resumes, no one cared about what I learned or what I majored in or what I was telling. They just cared to see that I graduated, which is sort of stupid, right? Like, that shouldn't matter. Because frankly, I learned nothing in college outside of my area of my major area, really, when I really think about it. Like, all my basis of learning came from schooling before that. Like, all like the usual educational foundation you need came from before that. I don't think I took a single math class in college.
Nice. Yeah, I think, I mean, most of it is just showing the social credential that you learned, the proper manners to function in whatever thing you're applying to, right?
Right.
It's just like
right. Like, I was never someone who, like, when people tell me like Stanford and Harvard and whatever, like, that those things mean nothing to me. Like, obviously they mean something in place of like the power dynamic, which I agree with Michael. That's something to care about, like the endowments they receive and the figureheads who come out of there and run. Sure, but that's not what he's covering. And I pointed it out to him. But that is something obviously to worry about. But like, I've never cared about that stuff. Like, it just has no meaning or interest to me whatsoever. I think it is totally like this bizarre, like, people who care about that shit so much and constantly flaunt that, like, oh, I'm an Ivy League graduate. I don't give a shit. Like, it really does not mean anything to me. Like, it just doesn't mean anything. There are really smart people who went to like just random, like, really smart people who went to Queens College or went to like any CUNY or SUNY or public institution. Like, that does not mean anything to me in terms of like, because if you're working in that field after college, sure, that means something to me. If your college degree got you somewhere, then you should be flaunting what your career is, not that you're like that you're a Harvard grad. I mean, unless you're working there, I guess. Like, if you're like as a professor or a researcher or something, sure, then I guess that means something. But just like graduating from an institution, I mean, there's plenty of people who graduate from those institutions based on who they are and who they know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we actually have I mostly know people at the vet school, but at the medical school at UF, we also have this discussion a lot, that the whole thing about like that nostalgia with the college years, and at least us and most Southern schools have this obsession with the sports and the mascot and all that, and it just whenever we go to conferences, that's the main thing that comes up. Go Gators,
Right.
And it kind of cheapens the academic side of it, right? Like, I don't give a shit about the school's PR campaign to make the Gators look cool. Like, that's not what it's about. But it takes over the whole thing,
Right. Like, if you tell me like you're the Harvard the head of epidemiology, for example, then I'm going to listen to you. Obviously, there's only one of those, right? Which means you are obviously very good in your field. You tell me you are just Harvard graduate. What the fuck does that mean? How many people have graduated from Harvard over the past century? You know what I mean? Like, doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean shit to me.
Yeah, that's why I started following Brianna Joy Gray, but then I found out she was Harvard grad, so I had to unfollow.
I mean, listen, I think that's like so weird to like. I mean, it doesn't mean anything.
No,
to
she
me.
doesn't say. She tries to hide it.
Okay.
Not hide it, but she doesn't talk about it at all.
Good. I mean, because I think it's like, listen, if she was like the professor of Harvard, whatever law, then I think that's something to obviously mention. That's your career. That's who you are. That's an identity. But like just being the graduate, like I don't walk around and saying like I'm a graduate of the School of Visual Arts. Like that's just ridiculous. How many people have graduated from my school? Hundreds of thousands, I bet. Like it's just a bizarre thing to claim. As like
yeah, and right now there's this obsession with school rankings, right? We got a new president of the school that his stated goal when he came in was to bring UF to number 5 public school top 5 nationally, and he's done all these fucked up things like just hiring a ton of adjunct faculty at like really low wages to lower the ratio of like students to professors. He's like fired a bunch of the older professors that earn more money to make more room for low pay openings. He's just like hollowed out the institution just to gain the rankings. And now that he's celebrating being top 5, he's having a mutiny in his hands. They're about to do the faculty is about to do a vote of no confidence to him. And he's shitting his pants because he's also like a big friend of DeSantis. So it's pretty interesting.
Ah. All right, thanks for the call. I really appreciate it. Always a pleasure when you call in.
All right, man. Thanks for taking my call. Have a good night.
Have a good night. All right, folks. I think that's gonna be it. Maybe. I keep missing a few people trying to call in. I'm sorry. I'm gonna call it a night, folks. We're hitting the 2.5 hour mark. What I'll do is I think it makes more sense I'm gonna have to no more. Oh my God, we just got 4 calls at once. 5 calls at once. Oh my God. I feel bad. All right, let's do 1 or 2 more calls, but they're gonna be short calls. Let's make it a full 2.5 hour show. We'll do 2 5-minute calls, and then that's a wrap. All right. All right, let's take this caller.
Oh my God, we just got 4 calls at once.
Oh, you got to shut down. You have to shut the audio on the YouTube.
Hey. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Counting Amberjacks from Mayo Pete's, South Bend, Indiana.
Hey, how are you? What was it to talk about?
Oh, I just wanted to call in real quick and let you know that the only thing I want to do with college kids, because I'm 41, is feed them and do their laundry. I don't care about really much else.
Do you have college-aged children?
I don't have children. I refuse to procreate. But,
okay.
You know,
That's
I
fine.
mean, like, I love kids. You know, I just don't want them, you know, and, you know, me to be responsible for them. But, yeah. So anyways, that the whole college thing is just weird.
I agree.
I went to a couple different schools, but my main school was IU Bloomington, and I felt old on campus there when I was 26. I mean, I don't know how you can engage with those young kids. I mean, I love the kids that age, but not in that capacity. But That's not my point. The reason I call this totally off subject, I wanted to let you know that I first heard of you, obviously, from Majority Report, which I started listening to about 6 years ago. My husband my current husband, then boyfriend, turned me on to Majority Report. And
that's how you knew he was the one.
Yeah, well, that and the fact he's a chef. And he has a red beard, which is neat. But when you came on, I was super excited because you always have really dope punk shirts on. And I'm an old school punk rocker, you know, and you bring that up a lot when you talk about your political, like, you know, the basis of your politics,
right?
Like where it started. And that's exactly the same for me. I mean, I started like really getting into the scene when I was pretty young still, about 16. We had a pretty robust punk rock scene back here in 1996 when South Bend was like really, really bad. And yeah, so it was like basically I grew up in it. You know, we had our crew. We had a crew of about probably 50 kids. Pretty big scene for such a small town. And yeah, and that's really where like my politics really started to develop. And I didn't really understand. It was all organic. I wasn't like reading like Marx or anything. At that time, I was, you know, all I cared about was like smoking pot, getting drunk, and oi. But there was this wild infiltration of Nazis and white supremacists that would come to our shows and like try to steal our stages. And they would get on and they would try to recruit us.
Right. Yeah.
And then we would have to fight them. We would beat their asses.
Right.
No, so, I mean, that's kind of like the genesis of my lefty political views. My Catholic, white bread parents did really appreciate it.
Oh, I came from a Catholic household too, Catholic and Jewish. So I had a little bit of a variety there. But I will say, I think people who came from the punk scene know it, but I don't think people outside of it quite understand. I think if it wasn't for the punk scene, I mean, it really, not just my politics, just like how I view things in terms of like you just agreed with me straight up, like how like you don't care about that superficial like college bullshit stuff. And like, I really think that was instilled to me early on through punk. Like, yeah, like you just really do. Obviously, listen, punk rock's not perfect. There's plenty of, you know, you brought up, you know, the white supremacy problems, and there's definitely misogyny and other sorts of issues in the punk world. But in terms of, you know, the positive aspects and you know, it really is what you make of it too, though. Obviously, if you don't hang out with white supremacists and misogynists in the punk scene, that won't be a problem for your, you know, your little group or your curated local punk scene. But you know, I that whole attitude, I think, really comes from that. Like, I think I have good self-esteem issues because of punk rock. I mean, I was able to find it very early, and it sort of gave me, you know, a style and a identity very early on. Like, I think a lot of what young people go through actually when they have low self-esteem issues is they just don't have they haven't found something that fits them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Like
whenever, like, you know, there's this, I haven't been on this subreddit in literally probably a decade, but there was a subreddit called like, Am I Ugly? And it was always people in their teens and 20s, sometimes even older, like 30s, posting selfies, asking, like, saying they have very low self-esteem. They don't have they've never been kissed. They never had sex. They never had a boyfriend. And, you know, they're asking, is it just because I'm ugly? And one thing I remember thinking back then when I would see these photos is the one line throughout that really brought it all together was, none of these people really found a style for themselves. They were just like, you know, wearing clothes that gave them no sense of like, you know, no like identity. It was just like, and then listen, like, I'm not saying you have to become a punk, but like, you know, certain people find something that fits them, like whether it be a style of clothing, a music scene, a hobby, like, I don't know, like arts, like some sort of art, like knitting, like crafts like that, or sports, like even like, you know, the jock they found a style that fit them, and they would wear football jerseys or whatever. Not my thing, but it made them confident and gave them self-esteem, because it was just they had something. And for me, that was punk, and I think that's why I think that's probably a major issue for a lot of people, to be honest, who are young and haven't quite found themselves, because they don't really have something to identify with, and whether that's whatever it may be, I think it helps.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, like, for me, I'm a chubby kid, and I always have been, but like my punk identity always outweighed that. So I kind of got to, even though I was insecure about my body, which is like every single female or woman, anybody who, I'm sure men have it too, but I think that like my punk identity kind of like protected me from a lot of bullying, because people knew that I'm outspoken and I'm going to tell you what I think, and I don't give a fuck what you think, what I have to think, because I know I'm right. And I may not be the most articulate, and I may say a lot of cuss words, but I know I'm right. And about, things that like racism and just like basic stuff. I mean, we're talking like the mid to late 90s. I went to a school, and my high school was predominantly white. You would walk through the hallway and you would hear every racial slur, and like people openly used them. Teachers wouldn't say shit, and like to be like a voice that's like, fuck you, and getting sent to the principal's office for being the one that calls out the racist. People weren't going to come up to me and be like, hey, fatty, or, like other kids got it. And I just think that like it gave me a shield of confidence, because I just always felt like I was fighting for justice, and I still have that. And it's amazing. I have friends that I've been friends with since, we grew up, and we're all like that. We're all like we're all in DSA. We're all like politically active. I am a local campaign manager here. My last candidate I ran was a state rep for District 6 here in South Bend. And we're a progressive candidate running against a dynasty candidate. Her father was who we originally signed up to run against. And then his dad was the guy before. And now she has the seat, So, I mean, like, I don't care. I will say loud stuff. I'll say it to the mayor. I have Mayor Pete won't even look me in the eye. Neither will James Mueller, our new guy, because I will yell at them in public. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. I don't. And it's I don't know. It's just great for me. I think it really helped me. And when I heard you like talk about that, I was like, fuck yes, because you don't hear that much in our space, like online, like from podcasters and the political, there's not much talk about like punk rock, and maybe it's just because it's not popular anymore, or mainstream anymore or whatever, but I don't know. I just really appreciate that about you. So that's why I wanted to call in, and I don't know.
I really appreciate the call. No, it gave an interesting conversation about and it ties in with the main topic of the episode from the first half of the show about how social media is affecting children, teens and kids' mental health. I mean, a lot of these issues are sort of obviously this specific thing isn't about social media, but some of these self-esteem and mental health issues are part of young people just finding themselves and not finding who they are really. And I think finding like a scene or something, I'm not even talking about like fitting in or anything. It's just like finding
a community.
Yeah. And finding something you're into too, like something that like defines you. Like, doesn't mean you need to, give in to what someone else wants you to be or represent something else. But I mean, it just means like you found who you feel like you are. And I feel like it helps with self-esteem issues. In terms of what you brought up before about like physical appearance, I think, people, men and women find, even without any change to your body type, just like that aspect makes you more attractive because you found who you are, you're more confident, and
Absolutely.
like it's just like, and I think like young people just need to, get to that point in their life, I guess, and older people too. It's not just a young person thing, obviously. There's plenty of older people who are still searching for exactly what their personality and who they are.
Finding a space that's safe enough for you to explore who you are.
Yes. There you go. That's perfectly said. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is the thing. I'm 41. We didn't have any of this shit when I was a kid, man. I mean, I didn't have friends that had computers in their houses until I was like a junior in high school. You know what I mean? Like where it was a common thing where everybody had one, like I couldn't imagine what these kiddos go through right now with this stuff. I couldn't imagine because I see folks my age that are all wigging about, it really into it. Like people, like girlfriends that are into MLM crap and they try to be influencers and stuff. Like friends I grew up with, I'm like, wow, it's insane. Like it's all about what people think of you online. I don't know. I could give two shits what people think about me online. I don't know if you've ever seen my Twitter, but it's whatever the fuck I want. I don't subscribe to anything.
Right.
I get dredged by, Fred Hampton leftists and all that all the time. I don't care. You guys are dumb. Okay.
I did,
and I'm not afraid to say it.
I did a segment on this show last week on,
I watch your show every week.
The Jimmy Dore interview with one of those guys. I mean, they just,
it's wild.
Yeah. It's, I don't even know what to say. It's just bizarre. Right.
I mean, you're a lot smarter than me, dude. Like,
don't say that.
No, you really are. Like, I can tell you that for sure. I listen to you every day, talk every day. You don't listen to me, but what happened? Why?
Yeah,
I just don't get it. Like, it's like hurtful. You know what I'm saying?
There'll be plenty more shows than those that Michael Brooks so eloquently put as the dumb left.
Bless him. Oh man, him too. Like oh gosh, he was a cool dude.
I mean, there's another example of someone who clearly, like, listen, I knew Michael. And I knew that he had issues growing up because he was homeschooled. And clearly, this is a perfect example of an individual who found who he was. Wasn't a punk rocker, but had his style. Was super into like reggae and hip hop, and just found his identity and was super confident because he found who he was and what his purpose was. And I mean, look how he shined. I mean,
he really did.
Yeah. I mean,
but I want you to know that like people like you carry on his torch because you the way you approach folks is oh man, I really appreciate your just the way you come at people. You're willing to listen before you bite, and I just that empathetic ear. And
you mean you still think I'm empathetic, even though you heard me say that I don't care about those college kids' experiences to Michael Tracy?
Yes, I do. No, I think the way you say stuff is
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I appreciate that. I do wish I had his delivery a little bit more his delivery than I've got the Sam Cedar delivery where you could hear me think. Because I take the time pausing, sometimes stuttering over my lines as a new thought pops in my head. Somehow, Michael Brooks, I'll never understand how he was able to do this, but just always, like, everything he said, I'll tell you right now, everything he said was in the moment, yet you would think he had a prepared speech that he had practiced 100 times in front of him. Like, he was so well-spoken in terms of his delivery that it's something I definitely am... will always be envious of definitely a talent that a very rare talent. There's not many people I've come across that can do that, that are off the cuff yet at the same time they sound extremely prepared in their auditory delivery.
It's like the dude would read a book and remember it all of it.
Yeah,
word for word. But you folks carry on that torch. You really do. Matt Leck does too with his show and with David.
Matt Leck's getting really. He was always very smart, but he's getting very polished as well. He's getting. I don't think anyone will get to the Michael level, but he's getting close to being able to really deliver off the cuff comments quite smoothly. Something I still haven't. I don't think I'll ever be able to master.
Yeah. You guys all have your own style, and I don't know. I just really appreciate your community in particular. I love Sam Cedar, of course. Emma's awesome. I love all you guys, but you got a soft spot in my heart, brother.
Oh, I thank you.
It's just because of the oi oi punk rock. And
hell yeah! What was your favorite?
I fucking love it.
What was your favorite band growing up?
My favorite band
or
growing
even
up
now
was Bad Religion.
Bad Religion? Okay.
Yeah. I like every song, every word. They're like, I'm an atheist. I mean, like, it's just they like spoke to me a lot when I was younger. I
saw that. I've seen them a few times. They were never my band. My you're not gonna like this. My best memory of them was I went to see them play with Less Than Jake many years ago, probably more than a decade ago. But
okay.
The longest set I've ever seen in my life, to the point where I was like, I'm sorry, but I was like, guys, you gotta please wrap it up. They played like 2 hours. It was an experience, but I could totally.
Dude, the great part about getting old is you can leave shows early and nobody gets mad at you.
Yeah, I could never do that. I came from not only going to shows, but I was in a band, so I would go play at the same shows bands were playing at.
What kind? What style?
Hardcore punk. I've played a song on this show before, actually. I'll have to pull it up again. I'll have to upload them somewhere, the songs. We actually do have real recordings. And we weren't just like another local band. Like we didn't really like get past the local band status, but we were playing quite regularly. We were popular in the local scene at the time.
Right.
So I come from the belief that as someone who is at these shows and playing at these shows, I couldn't leave before everyone played. I thought it was disrespectful. Yeah. So I couldn't even the shows I wasn't playing at. I was like torturing myself sometimes by staying to the very end.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially when you're in like a small local scene where there's like a lot of like startup bands, punk can get really hard to hear sometimes. Whoa. There's just like people, you're just like, damn, these guys are really rough, but that's part of it.
Right.
That's part of it. That's fucking part of it, man.
People in the chat are telling me to play one of my old songs right now.
I think you should.
If I had it on this hard drive, I would. I don't. It's on another hard drive that's nowhere near me. I'll have to pull it out, and I'll probably put it on this hard drive for good. I'll upload it actually, so people could have it online. People have asked me before.
Beautiful.
Have a great night. Really appreciate
you too,
really
brother.
Appreciate the call. And if the kids are united, then they'll never be divided.
Damn straight.
Let's go. All right. Have a great night.
All right. Bye.
All right. That call, I promised. I said we'll do a few 5-minute calls, and I went on for 20 minutes with her, but that was a great call. But we're gonna call it a night now. All right. And I will. This is my idea. No. Sorry, Renee. Sorry, buddy. And that goes to everyone else. Not taking any more calls. I need to start doing more shows. But at the same time, Renee's going to keep trying. But also, I'll probably need to cut back on the length of some of these. Because I think it'd probably be better for everyone if I did maybe two 2-hour shows, or maybe like 3 hour-and-a-half shows a week, instead of doing these 1 day a week, 3, sometimes 4-hour marathons. Because I feel like by the end of the show, I'm not at my best, quickness wise and mentally. You listen to me, okay? So we're gonna have to really cut back on the length of the Thursday stream, and then just basically do like a second stream that's maybe just all calls and questions. I'll figure it out. I've said this before, but it's becoming quite obvious as the list of callers gets bigger that this is no longer something to consider for in the future. This is something to do now. So, yeah, people in the chat are agreeing. Yes, I think it's probably better to do more shows, more slightly shorter shows than one excruciatingly long one. I agree. All right, guys and gals, take care. Have a great night. If you're not, you should be, but if you're watching live, then patreon.com/MattBinder. See you all next time on Doomed.